What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if Kirby really could be a killer in Scream 6. So, honestly, and I'll start out with this just so nobody gets the wrong idea, I'm kind of in the same spot with Kirby, this theory, as I was with the Tara mastermind thing. And it's that I don't despise it, I don't hate it. If they do it well, I think it could be very bold, like all those kind of things. I said the same thing for Tara. While I don't think Tara is Ghostface, I think that actually makes no sense. And Tara being a mastermind, while interesting and different, and I don't hate it, I just don't think it's going to happen. Okay, and we talked about that, a few videos ago. For Kirby, it's pretty much the same thing. It's if you can make her a killer, it's not as unbelievable as when people say, Sydney's going to be every movie when you bring up, Sydney, or I guess in 5 even, right? Leading into 5, people would say, could it still be Dewey? Could it still be Sydney? And those arguments just got so old, right? Because they keep coming out. And I think it's very unbelievable that either of those two, and again, those are always kind of like the fan theories that you'll see floating online. The idea that Sydney could maybe, say, crack or snap or whatever and then decide to go on a rampage, could that ever happen? And I think that was always kind of ridiculous. With Kirby, I don't think it's so ridiculous. Again, that's kind of why it's in this middle ground feel of I don't hate it. I think if you told me that Kirby lost it or is doing it for somewhat different reasons. Again, remember, it doesn't have to be for one specific reason. You could say, well, why would she just go on a murderous rampage? Well, maybe she's trying to accomplish something. Now, it kind of breaks down there, I'd imagine, because if you're trying to accomplish something, whatever it could be, whatever the motive is, what does it have? Why? Like, how does it connect to killing, ideally or assumingly, Sam, Tara? Like, those are your prime targets. Gail would be like, why are you killing survivors? Now, we have talked about in terms of like a Dermot, right, a Detective Bailey, why I think it makes a little bit more sense for someone like him, right, like an officer, an officer of the law, and maybe he was a family member of Olivia, let's just say, and it could be something kind of righteous where it's like, well, because families suffer for these kind of things, I'm just going to eliminate everybody so that nobody else can get hurt. It always goes back to these people, and when it goes to these people, innocent people die, even though they're also innocent. Other innocent people die, and their families have to suffer and all that stuff. So I'm going to wipe the table clean. I'm going to wipe the slate clean to try to just like start at zero. I think that works for somebody a little more detached from the situation, right? Somebody being a relative of somebody who's died. I think that makes more that motive, and it's not a perfect motive. I don't even know if I like it. Yet again, it's just me kind of spitballing right on the spot. I'm sure they could do better, and they should be able to. But I think it does work a little bit better with somebody more removed. For somebody that was part of it, for somebody that really was like a co-final girl, let's say, with Jill, the idea that Kirby and Jill would both, if we had our way, if Wes and Kevin had their way, going into 5, Kirby would have been like an integral part of it. And Jill being Ghostface, well, now, calling her the final girl doesn't really make so much sense. I guess it would still be Sydney or it'd be Kirby. So Kirby really still is one of these people. Obviously not as prominent. Obviously, things fell through. But she's like an somewhat equivalent of Sam and Tara. So what would her reason be? That's where I would get really caught up. And I guess that, and to be fair, that is the most important thing, so I get how much of a hang up that is. But another thing that I have talked about in these videos and that gives them a little bit of openness or open room with Kirby is we really don't know all that much about her. I think that's why there is that little amount of wiggle room, and it's different from, like, again, those theories of Sydney, of after 5 movies she finally snaps her Dewey, it's been him all along. I think it would make more sense with Kirby because we just don't know. In fact, we've never had a survivor. I was going to say we've never had a survivor that's gone through the situation that Kirby has gone through. The time jump, the age jump, skipping a movie, her dying and kind of being like left. But then there was always the thought that she didn't die. Wes never really believed she died. You have the Easter egg of her in 5. Like, she's truly unique. And she's truly unique, and that makes her very cool. I think that makes her, a very likable character. But in terms of, like, again, playing devil's advocate and saying, well, could it work to be Ghostface? I think it could, again, under the right circumstances, because you don't know what that, number one, does to somebody. Number two, it's been so long and so many things have changed. I guess that kind of combines with number one. Anything could have happened in this amount of time. But number three, we really didn't know enough about her in 4 to begin with. She's a really cool character. She's probably one of my favorite, in terms of, like, I'd say the newer cast in 4. She's probably is my favorite character. So, but at the same time, she's my favorite character kind of because of her spunk, because of just her. Really, Hayden did a phenomenal, like, it was her. It was a lot of her. Obviously, the writing, of course, helped. But we really don't know about her aspirations in life, like what she wants to do, what she wants to be. Now, obviously, we know what she's become, and you would imagine she's become this. She's worked her way up because of what happened in 4. Maybe not even necessarily because of the character that she was supposed to be, like who she actually was. I think that changed after, her attack and her almost death at the end of 4. So, again, like, playing devil's advocate on that point right there, what does that do to a person? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody can. And I think because we can't really give good answers to that, it does leave the door open that if they wanted to say that, hey, something snapped inside her or something kind of aligned, her purpose was realized, like these kind of things, again, like how they pull it off, of course, would be debatable, but I can't necessarily fault them for going for it. Number one, it'd be bold, right? Different, all those kind of buzzwords, but also, like, she's a mystery kind of character. You can kind of do whatever you want with her generally. So should I ever get that mad? Now, again, like I said in the beginning of the video, it very much is like a Tara. I don't think Kirby is a killer. It has been pointed out. I actually didn't even notice this until Steven of Craven Something Scary pointed this out. At the end, seemingly the end of the movie, when Sam, and we see in the trailer, when Sam has the gun, she does the head turn, that's Kirby's gun. So, with that being said, there's only a couple things that could have happened there. Number one, Kirby maybe sacrificed herself, gave Sam the gun. Number two, Kirby's the killer. Number three, Kirby's, like, incapacitated somewhere else. She's not dead, but she's obviously, clearly, and I've said this before, the final act, the last couple minutes, really does seem like Sam versus one Ghostface, 1v1. Right before that, it seems like Sam and Tara versus 2 Ghostface. So I don't know what happens to Tara, whether she dies or just gets kind of left aside. And I don't know what happens to the second Ghostface. And I'm just assuming that, I suppose. But that's how I imagine it works out. So Mindy, Chad, they're not there. Gail, not there. Not like in those scenes when Sam's turning her head, the projector is behind her. They could still be alive. They're just not there. So in terms of Kirby, what happens. I'll probably make a separate video. Kirby, to me, I am very worried that she will be a sacrifice. She will die towards the end of the movie. But, again, to kind of play devil's advocate, to kind of come up with this thing, I think it could work. I do think it could work where she could be Ghostface. I don't know how much I'd like it. I would say the same things with the Terra Mastermind thing. It would still be bold. It'd be something different. You've never seen something like this before. And you can never fault them for that. You can never say, oh, their boldness. You can fault the execution, right? I mean, maybe you can fault the bold. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You know what? In fact, you fault whatever you want to fault. But I just think because we talk about how we do want something different, and they do seem like they're going for something different, I don't know how much you can fault them for making bold decisions. I think you can fault the execution, how it all works, but I don't know if you can fault the actual decision, itself. But that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Who knows? If Kirby does become Ghostface, I could be like, oh my God, they did it and I love it. Or I could say that was the stupidest decision, you've ever made. I don't know how it would feel, to be honest with you. But, I think it's possible. I really don't know what the motive would be. The clean slate thing is the only thing I can kind of think of from like a righteous point of view. Because again, you got to think she would be going after Sam as her primary person. That's the primary person is Sam. Why? To stop maybe she set. Now, okay, maybe the conspiracy stuff of what Sam did with Richie, maybe that scares her. Maybe that makes her think, this Billy Loomis thing who kind of started it all, right? His daughter is still around, and she's kind of nuts. So, like, I need to really stop her. And if other people are going to get in my way, I got to do what I got to do in order to get to her. that, I mean, I guess that could potentially work if you look at it from, again, kind of ending the line, stopping everything in its track. If that's the idea, Kirby maybe using kind of a righteous thing. One final thing, the idea that this Ghostface killer is like a trained professional definitely needs to be said. And I think that throws Kirby, like a little bit more suspicion towards Kirby, a lot of suspicion, I think, to Dermot, right? Now, there could be another character, say like a Henry Czerny or something else. Maybe they were trained by somebody else or, whatever it could be. It doesn't literally have to be somebody who's got like this FBI experience. Now, it makes sense, hand-to-hand kind of combat, the way Ghostface dodges the shotgun in the beginning of the I mean, there's some things that clearly show this Ghostface is, number one, not messing around, but number two, they seem very collected, and they seem very, again, like trained would kind of be the word. Who's trained? There's only a couple of them, and Kirby is factually one of them. Again, there could be somebody with like a hidden talent. They took martial arts for 20 years. They didn't tell anybody that they did it, right? Like a Jack Champion or something, right? Like you could have something like that. But I mean, just initial thoughts of that whole trained kind of Ghostface thing, it immediately on the surface level only, throws a couple people under the bus. And Kirby is one of those people. Now, I don't think that's Kirby in the bodega. Again, I don't think Kirby is Ghostface, period. But it's an interesting theory, just like the Terra thing. It's cool to talk about. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you think they'd ever do it, how they would do it, how they would actually make something like that work. Let me know. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.